No wire hangers. Three words that turned a B-level biopic into a full-blown cultural thunderclap. But behind the meme, the camp, and the yelling, there's a chilling story that broke a Hollywood icon's legacy, almost broke another's career, and featured a scene so intense Faye Dunaway reportedly needed Frank Sinatra to calm her nerves afterward. That's right, old Blue Eyes himself. This is the wild true story behind Mommie Dearest, a film so infamous it was booed at early screenings, declared a mother of all bad movies, and yet somehow managed to redefine cult cinema. But let's rewind the reel before the hangers start flying. Directed by Frank Perry and released in 1981, Mommie Dearest starred Faye Dunaway as legendary actress Joan Crawford. The film was adapted from the explosive tell-all memoir by Crawford's adopted daughter, Christina. If Hollywood was built on illusions, Christina's book was a Molotov cocktail through the glass, detailing physical abuse, psychological warfare, and a glittering mansion filled with fear. Dunaway, still riding the wave of her Oscar-winning performance in Network, dove into the role with a method actor's zeal, and some say never came back. She transformed herself completely. The angular eyebrows, the clipped diction, the unhinged intensity. It was Oscar bait, at least on paper. But things didn't exactly go as planned. The plot follows Joan Crawford's life from her mid-career struggles to her descent into a controlling, abusive matriarch. Christina, played as a child by Mara Hobel and later by Diana Scarwood, becomes the lens through which we see Joan's cruelty unfold, discipline masked as devotion, rage cloaked in Hollywood glamour. Then came that scene, the no wire hangers ever meltdown. It's cinematic infamy. A nighttime assault over the wrong kind of clothes hangers. Joan, clad in cold cream and a bathrobe, wielding a metal hanger like a weapon of war. The scene was so physically and emotionally exhausting that, according to crew members, Dunaway lost her voice from screaming. Rumors swirled that she had to be sedated afterwards, and one infamous account claimed only a visit from Frank Sinatra could bring her down from the frenzy. Was that last part true? Depends who you ask. Some say Sinatra showed up on set to console her. Others insist he just called. But the point remains, Dunaway went deep. Too deep. And it haunted her for decades. The production itself was a battlefield. Director Frank Perry reportedly clashed with Dunaway constantly. She accused him of abandoning her with unclear direction, while he bristled at her demands for control. One assistant director said it was like watching two forces of nature collide, but without any survivors. And then there was the script, rewritten so many times that scenes often changed the night before filming. Christina Crawford herself claimed her real story was being warped into melodrama. "They're turning my nightmare into a cartoon," she once said. On set, things didn't get much better. The infamous bathroom scrubbing scene? Mara Hobel, only 9 years old at the time, later recalled how terrifying it was to film. "Faye grabbed me so hard I had bruises," she claimed, and though child labor laws were technically followed, the emotional toll left scars. Despite these grueling conditions, or maybe because of them, the film wrapped with a sense of foreboding. Even the editors said they weren't sure what they had. Early test screenings were a disaster. Audiences laughed in all the wrong places. Paramount scrambled, reshot scenes, and even added voiceover lines to try to make Joan more sympathetic. Too little, too late. When Mommie Dearest hit theaters in September 1981, critics pounced. Roger Ebert gave it a blistering 1-star review, calling it a painful experience. He didn't buy Dunaway's performance, calling it mannered and over the top. Variety and the New York Times echoed the sentiment, accusing the film of exploiting child abuse for campy thrills. But then something weird happened. The movie refused to die. At midnight screenings, fans began dressing up as Joan and Christina. They recited lines like gospel, "Tina, bring me the axe," and of course, no wire hangers. The audience reaction flipped from horror to hilarity. Paramount leaned in and repackaged the film as an unintentional comedy. It was even given a new tagline, "The biggest mother of them all." Suddenly, what was once a cautionary tale became a kitsch classic. Gay communities especially embraced the film, drawn to its high drama, exaggerated style, and tragic diva energy. TV tropes labeled it a camp masterpiece, while The Guardian in a 40-year retrospective praised its operatic fury and said it deserved a second look. Not for what it got wrong, but for what it dared to show. Still, for Faye Dunaway, the fallout was real. She refused to discuss the film for years. In her memoir, she admitted the role may have cost me more than I ever imagined. Studios stopped calling. Critics stopped taking her seriously. In one interview, she reportedly snapped, "Every time someone says no wire hangers, a little part of me dies." As for Christina Crawford, she stood by her story but distanced herself from the film's tone. She claimed Paramount turned a tragedy into a spectacle, and Jones defenders agreed. Some former colleagues insisted the abuse was exaggerated or outright fabricated, but Christina never backed down. Behind the scenes, there are tales that feel like they belong in a movie themselves. Vanity Fair reported that some crew believed Joan Crawford's ghost haunted the set. Lights flickered, props went missing, and eerie sounds echoed at night. One PA even swore she saw Joan's portrait fall off the wall. Twice. And then there's the Blu-ray re-release. Fans noticed new details. Joan's expressions in the mirror, Christina's subtle gestures, the coldness in every lavish set. In hindsight, some began to argue that the film wasn't bad, it was just misunderstood. Even Roger Ebert came around, sort of. In a later piece, he admitted that while Mommie Dearest failed as drama, it succeeded as something else entirely. A cautionary tale about Hollywood, ambition, and the monsters it creates. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think Mommie Dearest deserves its reputation as a camp classic, or was Faye Dunaway unfairly punished for going all in on an impossible role? Drop your take in the comments.